Hey, Bubba Tack here, and this is going to be a head-to-head patterning test to see how they pattern of Remington, double-aught buckshot, Federal, Suprema, and Spartan. All of them are 9 pellet, and all of them are 2 3/4. Stay tuned. Spartan from Academy Sports, double-aught buck, 2 3/4. I have a Remington 870 at 10 yards. Remington double-aught buck, Express I believe, out of a Remington 870 Police Magnum with a 20-inch barrel, 10 yards. Yards, Suprema double-aught buck out of a Remington 870 with a 20-inch barrel. Yards, Federal double-aught buck. So as you saw in that sequence, that was at 10 yards, shooting with my Remington 870, 20-inch barrel Police Magnum rifle sights. And we're going to go ahead and start with Suprema. I don't think that was the first shot I took. I think the first shot I took was Federal, but I have these already in order the way I want them. So we'll go ahead and start with Suprema. So this was at 10 yards, and as you can see, it did really nice. All 9 are on. You have 7 in the center, clustered, and then you have 1 almost touching the line, and then 1 over here. So it's all 9. Again, like in my last video did, and some of the other testing I did, this is a real cheap load, but it is a consistently performing load. So it does pretty good, and I'll go ahead and take it off the side here and show you Spartans, and I want to put them side by side. So Spartan is marketed by Academy and Suprema is marketed by Walmart. They're interchangeable. They're the same load. From all my research shows that they both come out of a company in Texas, and they imported by the same company. They both were made in Spain. You look at the 2 shells together, they look very similar made, and brass heights and lengths, and they're semi-transparent. And when they come apart, you see how the wads are set up and how the shots stack and everything. It's all the same. So they're interchangeable loads. And this, to me, also proves that quite nicely, because these 2 patterns at 10 yards look extremely similar. They have the box pattern here going on, and then they have one up here almost at the same o'clock mark, and then they have another just over here at the same o'clock mark. So these are very similar patterns to each other, and they are the same shell, basically, just being marketed in different ways. And Spartan is consistent, Suprema is consistent, even though both of them are cheap shells that you can buy at your local store. So, but it's nice that even though they are cheap, they're consistent. So we'll go ahead and move on to Federal. Okay, so this is the Federal at 10 yards with the Remington 870, and as you can see, the pattern's pretty good. You have 5 in and a big shot cup strike, and then you have 2 out, so 7 total. So 8 and 9 are missing, and here's where I think they went. This is very close, and sometimes you can have flyers, but I think this was close enough that you probably should have had those 2 print on there somewhere when they struck. Shot cups don't usually have that much power to go straight through the target like that. Wads and shot cups usually just hit and fall off. And I've seen this when I shoot Federal, that it hits pretty hard and goes through the target like that. And I've been doing some research on the load, and actually another load that's from Federal, and the general consensus is that they're using something to close up the crimp on the end of the shell, and it's a resin or almost like a glue substance, and it is going down and acting like a glue and is getting the bottom 2 to 3 stuck in the bottom of the shot cup, and they don't quite disperse when it comes out at close range like this. So when it strikes, the shot cup has enough power to go through, has enough velocity and enough mass to actually go through the target and not disperse completely. So this is kind of important to me because I'm going to be kind of studying and testing Federal products as I go forward into my new format, which I'll go over when I do my next video. And it will probably be a head-to-head between this Federal product and another product from Federal, and this is the Power-Shok. And I'm just this is a telltale sign of this particular Federal load in comparison to other Federal loads that I'm going to be taking a look at. So more on that in the future. This is the Remington Express out of the Remington 870 Police Magnum at 10 yards, and it patterned really nicely, and there's some real consistency there. You got 5 in and 1 touching, and then the other 3 are over here and right here. And it did real consistent, as it always does, and that's why it's my go-to load. And it didn't do quite as well as the Spartan or the Suprema, but as we go forward, as the range starts opening up, its consistency and its consistency of putting them where I want, or putting the double-up buckshot where I want it, will continue, which continues to strengthen my idea that it should be my go-to load. So more on that as we go. So as you saw in that sequence, that was at 15 yards. So I'll go ahead and show you how those targets did. This is again starting off with the Suprema. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and there may have been a double in one of these holes. That would have been number 5. It didn't pattern as well as I thought it was going to. Let me take a look here at the Spartan. Spartan did much better. This might have been my hold, my point of aim on this might have been a little off. I'm trying to get more consistent on that, especially as I go forward with more videos, more patterning videos. So as you can see, the wad hit right here, and as I was talking about when I was talking about the Federal load, they do hit, but they don't penetrate. And as you can see, this, it just kind of hit the target and fell off. So they don't have enough velocity to go through or punch a big hole through. So that you know, goes hand in hand with my belief that some pellets are getting stuck in the bottom of the shot cup as it's flying. So the go on to the Spartan here, and there's another wad hit and it didn't go through. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This 10th one is actually for the one above. I don't know why I didn't draw an arrow to it. Sometimes I'll draw an arrow. I'm fairly certain that was for the load above, and I believe that the load above on that one was actually Suprema, so that'd probably be another one of the pellets that came through. It did a little bit better, and as you can tell from that hit from when I was shooting with the Suprema, my hold was obviously a little bit low, my point of aim. So my point of impact kind of intruded on the Spartan load patterning, so target. So this actually did pretty well. This is kind of what I was expecting from the Suprema. I think it would have done that well had I been aiming a little bit better, but it did pretty good. You get 4 in, and the others are all within this, this square, this foot here, almost a foot, up and down, side to side. So it's doing pretty good. And like I said before, the Spartan or Suprema interchangeably is a pretty reliable load, and for an affordable, cheap load, it does pretty well. So go ahead and continue on to the Federal. Here's the Federal, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think maybe some of its pellets also went down. As looking at the Remington that was right below it, my point of aim might have been low on this, so it might have patterned a little bit better, but I will show something on the Remington target. We'll go ahead and I think I could have done better. I think this pattern's pretty good. This stuff pattern's pretty good. Just a little low on my part. So at 15 yards. So this is what I wanted to show you from the Federal to the Remington, was that some of these pellets, I believe, may have been from the Federal, at least maybe these top two. I don't know about this one. But the wad right here obviously had enough power to continue through, and I believe that wad, that shot cup right there, may be from the Federal, so it might have been sticking again and having enough force, enough velocity to go through, punch a hole through their target again. So here's the Federal at 15 yards, and it did quite well. Most of the pellets are there. I think I had a backer on it, and I think some of the shots were spread over here a little bit. 1 or 2, and that would account for where the rest of them are, as you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 8 and 9 might have been over here. So it patterned really good. You got, in my opinion, at 15, you got 3 in, and you have 2 online and 1 coming real close. So everything's in the vitals, and its consistency continues. So we'll go ahead and go on in the next video sequence to 20 yards, and we'll show how come back and show how those did up close. That was Spartan double-up buckshot out of a 20-inch barrel from a Remington 870 at 20 yards. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All 9 pellets on. Not bad. That is Suprema double-up buck at 20 yards out of a Remington 870 with a 20-inch barrel. Not half bad, all of them on the paper. Okay, that's from 20 yards out of a Remington 870 Police Magnum with 20-inch barrel. That was Remington, I believe. Remington double-up buck. Okay, that was Federal double-up buck from 20 yards out of a Remington 870 with a 20-inch barrel. Okay, as you saw in that sequence, that was at 20 yards with the Remington 870, 20-inch barrel, rifle sights. And go ahead and show a close-ups here on the table. Not outside where it was so windy. Inside where I can explain what I saw happening out there and everything. So this is starting off with the Suprema, and I believe all 9 are on. Got 2 down here, and then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 in. This again is the 6-inch circle, and this is a foot across and a foot up. So it did pretty good. It could have done a little bit better, but all of them are on the paper, and they were basically where they have been in the past, so good consistency from Suprema. So we'll go ahead and go over here to the Spartan, and again from Spartan, just like with the Suprema, real good and consistent. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I believe. And then there's this other pellet out over here, and I believe it goes for the target that was right next to it. So, that was off over here. So it didn't do as good as the Suprema, because the Suprema had almost 3 inside the 6-inch, but it still had 4, just like the Suprema. So consistency again from the 2 of those loads, and for its price, and to have an ammo to stock up on, I can't say enough about them. That they are that consistent in the number of lots that I've tried, and that they do pattern, more than passable at the particular distances that can be encountered. And I think they're, as far as a bulk up load or an affordable load or a practice load, they're good to go. So going on to the Federal. The Federal only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on. Had some flyers. I don't really know what happened to those. They didn't show up on my backer. This paper that I use is almost the same size as my backer, at least at the top part. So they probably would have gone off to either side, or maybe up. I don't know about down because my backer continues going down. But anyways, besides that, they actually patterned pretty closely for 20 yards in this area right here, and I'd say that's a pretty good pattern. You get 1, 2, 3, 4 in there, and only 1 in the 6, but you have 4 inside the 12 inches, and that you get that the same with the Spartan as the Suprema that I was looking at. So this is a good load. I'm going to keep taking a look at it. I like that it has a shot cup, but as I said, I'm going to be studying that shot cup and how that's set up in some of the Federal's products. So I'm going to keep my eye on that, and hopefully in the future I'll have, when I do some more testing under my new protocols for testing that I'm putting together, I'll have some better patterns for the Federal. So here's my Remington, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's a 5th one here, and then you got 6, 7, 8, and 9. So all on, and as far as my experience with Remington Express double up buck, you get 5 in the 12, which so far out of my Federal load, my Spartan load, and my Suprema load, and this head-to-head test was the best at 20 yards with inside the 12. You get 5 of them. Didn't have anything in the 6, but you got 5 in the 12 inches. So that's pretty cool. And then all 9 were actually on the paper and accounted for. And even number 6, 7, and 8 weren't that far off. So looking good, and continuing to be reaffirmed in my belief that this should be my go-to load. And until I see something else performing better at a same price or lower price that has the components of the Remington Express shell that I like, such as the shot cup and the wad that they use, and the setup of the crimp and everything, and seal primers and stuff like that, until I see another product that has that kind of quality to it, but still that kind of affordability and availability that can repeat these targets or outdo these targets, then Remington Express is going to be my go-to load for now. So that was my head-to-head ammo test, and stay tuned for the next test that I'm going to be doing under the new protocol. And thanks for watching. Bubba Tack out.